Hello friends everyone! America's Tesla recently told its suppliers that all cars made in the US must not use parts that are made in China. This means China, and Tesla plans to finish this plan in 1 or 2 years. This order did not come suddenly. It is the result of Tesla changing its strategy for 2 years and now speeding up. At the same time, Japanese companies in China are also changing their investments. Inside China, many factories in Jiangsu and Zhejiang are moving their production lines to Southeast Asia. Have you noticed? In supermarkets, the old "Made in China" labels are slowly being replaced by "Made in Vietnam" and "Made in Thailand." If we look deeper, this shows the breaking of many parts of China's industry chain. It is also a signal that a country is moving from rich to poor. Don't rush, I will show you this process step by step. We will look at facts, think layer by layer, and finally talk about how this will affect each of us. The Wall Street Journal reported that Tesla has decided to stop using "Made in China" parts in cars made in the US. Tesla and its suppliers already replaced some parts with parts from other places. They plan to finish all of this in 1 to 2 years. The report says that after the COVID pandemic broke China's supply chain, Tesla began trying to lower its use of Chinese parts in US cars, and it also encouraged Chinese suppliers to build factories in places like Mexico. In the past 2 years, Tesla bought more parts from North America. This year, because the US put high tariffs on Chinese goods, Tesla pushed the D-China plan even faster. A few days earlier, General Motors GM in the US also gave the same notice. It told part suppliers that before the end of 2027 they must remove Chinese parts and use US parts or parts made outside China. We can see that American carmakers are all trying to de-China, and the deadline is 2027. Now let's look at Japanese car companies in China. In November this year, Suzuki, Honda, and Toyota said they will invest more than $11 billion in India in the next 5 years. Friends, $11 billion is almost the same as all Japanese investment China got in the past 3 years. On November 5, Toyota's president Sato Koji said in Tokyo that in the next 5 years Toyota will invest more than $3 billion in India. They will add 2 new production lines and increase India's yearly output from 400,000 cars to more than 1 million. But they did not say anything about investing more in China. On November 6, Honda said that its new electric car series Zero will use India as the world's production and export base. Starting in 2027, they will even send cars from India back to Japan. Honda's factory in Guangzhou once made 1,000 Accord cars a day. Now half the production line is stopped, and workers are sent home early until next March. Nissan's factory in Zhengzhou is doing even worse. At the end of 2024, Nissan sold 51% of its Zhengzhou factory to Dongfeng for only $1. This is basically giving it away and giving up its biggest market base in China. Suzuki did even more. They left China in 2019, closed Chang'an Suzuki, and put everything into India. Maruti Suzuki now has more than 45% of India's car market. This is not simple investment moving. This is a full strategic exit. Japanese car companies that once made huge profits in China are now packing production lines, engineers, and orders and moving to India, Vietnam, and Mexico. They do see China's 1.4 billion people. But in China's endless price cut war, they can no longer make money. Toyota has 8 car factories and 12 parts factories in China. In 2021, Toyota's best year, they sold almost 2 million cars. But by 2024, sales dropped for 3 years in a row, and in the first half of 2025, sales crashed by 28%. Toyota's president said, "The China market has turned from a profit center into a cost center." Chinese local companies are also under great pressure because of economic decline, US-China trade problems, fewer orders, and foreign companies leaving. Recently, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Guangdong have another new wave of companies moving out. More and more factories move production to Southeast Asia to keep orders, lower costs, and find new markets. Mr. Wang from the Zhejiang Business Association said that in the past 5 years, Zhejiang companies moved out much faster. In the first 10 months of this year, at least 60 companies moved their factories to Vietnam or Malaysia because they could not get enough orders. He said this is a very low estimate. The real number may be over 100. Many companies even built factories overseas quietly. Even though official data says that in the first half of 2025, new foreign invested companies in China grew 11.7%, the actual use of foreign investment dropped more than 15%. The first 3 quarters were the same trend. Wang also said many bosses build new factories in Vietnam and slowly make their China factories smaller. Some bosses fly between Europe and Southeast Asia and manage China factories by remote. Some even have foreign passports now. Mr. Zhao, who makes machine parts in Huzhou, said factory moving started in 2018. Many companies set up places in Hanoi and Haiphong. After COVID, Customers wanted more than one production location. His company started planning an overseas assembly factory in 2023, and now it is running. Ms. Wang from Yiwu, who exports jewelry, said her customers moved some orders to Southeast Asia. So she moved simple work to Vietnam and kept harder work in Yiwu. The same thing happens in Jiangsu and Guangdong. One electronics company in Kunshan said that last year 3 customers moved orders to Vietnam and Thailand. Another factory owner, Mr. Go, said that after European orders dropped, customers asked them to build new production lines in other countries, so they built a branch in Thailand. Today, Vietnam is still the main place where Chinese factories move. Many new lines are in the northern industrial areas. A Taiwan business owner, Mr. Huang, said it's easy to hire workers there, but key machines still need Chinese engineers to set up. Outside of Vietnam, textile factories moved to Cambodia too. Mr. Chen, a Chinese finance reporter, said most factories are near Phnom Penh, but most cloth and machines still come from Zhejiang and Guangdong. Many mining and heavy energy companies moved to Indonesia. Chinese companies there now control 75% of nickel smelting capacity. Big groups like Tsingshan and Shemin Shangyu have invested 60-70 billion yuan. In August 2025, Indonesia's national fund in China signed an $8.3 billion nickel agreement. Chen also said some industry chains are moving to Central Asia, Kazakhstan, and Uzbekistan. These countries attract chemical, building, material, and metal processing companies. Chinese companies make basic materials there and ship them back to Western China by train. Let's trace when China's manufacturing started to move out. It began in 2018. After the US-China trade war began in 2018, the US fought back against unfair trade. Unfair trade includes China having a huge trade surplus blocking US products with high tariffs, like 100% on US cars, giving export tax rebates to Chinese companies to beat foreign products, stealing intellectual property, and letting China ship chemical materials used for drugs to the US. Because of these, the US put 25% extra tariffs on Chinese exports. To avoid these tariffs, many companies built factories in Southeast Asia. Then they could export from there and avoid high tariffs. They also got cheaper tax rules in Southeast Asia. In 2021, China used very strict energy control rules. Many factories lost power without warning. The New York Times said that Guangdong, Jiangsu, and Zhejiang had big power cuts. Some factories could only work one day on, 6 days off. At least 15 companies told stock markets that power cuts stopped their production. Morgan Stanley said that steel, aluminum, and cement companies were hit hard. About 7% of aluminum capacity stopped, 29% of cement capacity was affected. Paper and glass companies would be hit next. Chemical, dye, furniture, and soybean meal companies were also in trouble. More companies moved away to Southeast Asia. Experts say ASEAN countries have 6 at 20 million people. Their average salary is 1/3 of China's. They also have zero tariff rules under RCEP, so Southeast Asia is the first choice for companies leaving China. In 2022, China's very harsh COVID rules, especially the Shanghai lockdown, pushed both local and foreign factories into deep trouble. It ended China's decades of fast growth and made foreign companies leave even faster. By 2025, China's economy is still stuck. The US-China trade fight did not slow down. It became worse. High tariffs, fewer orders, and foreign companies leaving like a tide. Companies around the world rebuilt their supply chains. Costs in China rose. Labor is expensive. Environmental rules are strict. Land is expensive. For example, Vietnam workers earn about $300 a month. China's coastal workers earn about $800. The US kept high tariffs on China for 2 presidents. When tariffs rise, European and US orders move to places with low tariffs. This hurt companies in China. Even giants like Apple and Nike had already moved part of their supply chains. COVID lockdowns became the final push. Since 2022, European orders fell a lot. Customers want production lines in many countries. This reduces their dependence on China. A businessman from Zhejiang said the trade war cut China's supply chain. Factories upstream closed and factories downstream had no supply. Managers in Kunshan said that if they do not build factories abroad, they simply cannot get orders. A scholar from Zhejiang, Suho, said he recently saw many products in stores that are not made in China anymore. The same brand may come from Vietnam, Indonesia, or Mexico. Suhao said that the key is supply chain moving. Companies choose places by labor, raw materials, energy cost, and market path. He said China's economy cannot go back for at least the next 20 years. If you want to blame the policymakers. When factories move out, workers lose their jobs. When foreign companies leave, many white-collar and middle-class workers lose jobs. When local factories leave, especially labor-intensive ones, even more people lose work. So in recent years, unemployment keeps rising. Migrant workers, who are not counted in unemployment data, returned home early this year because they could not find jobs. Then China's agriculture ministry got scared. They shouted that they must stop poor people from returning to poverty because of unemployment. Rural towns even put up signs saying, stopping large-scale returning and staying in villages. Everyone must help. Why? Because the government sees a danger. Migrant workers have no social insurance, no medical insurance, no retirement. They cannot find work in cities. They also lost their land in villages. But many of them are educated and have seen the world. When they have no way to survive, will they gather by a lake, rent a boat, and talk about rebellion? They may become an unstable force. In the end, I want to ask you in your supermarket, how many shoes and clothes still have "Made in China" on the label? As China's manufacturing keeps moving away, it will be very hard to bring them back. Experts think China's hard time may last 10 to 30 years. This is only the beginning. The really hard days are still ahead. That is all for today. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you for watching. See you next time.